Hi everyone, welcome again to Bake Your Way Kitchen. On today's video we're going to do a steel cut oat bar, and for the most part this is pretty vegan if you're not a raw vegan, because we are going to do a little bit of cooking, not a whole lot. This is actually super easy and simple to make. They're very nutritious and delicious, and it's completely baked your way, or not really baked. It's actually a no-bake, so it's a no-bake your way video. So this is really easy to make. What you're going to need is some coconut oil, and this is what it looks like. It is expensive, I know, so I don't usually do too many videos with this, and I know, I guess in some areas in the world it's not very common. If you don't have a coconut oil, I'll put, if you look at the link in this video, if you go to the recipe page, I'll put some alternative options you can consider. So I got about a quarter cup of coconut oil, and then I've got maple syrup here. I'm not using all of this. I always keep it in this measuring cup. I'm only going to use about half a cup, which is about 60 milliliters. And maple syrup is fantastic. I am Canadian, so of course I love maple syrup. But if you don't have maple syrup, or you don't want to use maple syrup, who doesn't want to use maple syrup? Let's be honest. You could use agave. Now make sure, if you are using maple syrup, do not by any means use a fake maple syrup for this. We don't do that here. Don't do it. So I've got about half a cup, and then I've got some vanilla. And I'm going to just put a splash. I like vanilla, so I'll add a little extra. Alrighty. Now if you really wanted to, if you're into protein stuff, you could add a little bit of your protein mix, but otherwise we're gonna put this on the stove in a bit, and make sure with your saucepan you use a heavy duty one that's kind of got a thick bottom. When you're cooking syrup and oils, it's always best to have one that's got a good temperature control feature on it, if you have that type of saucepan available. Now, with all our dry ingredients that are going to be in our oat bars, we put them in here. Here is steel cut oats. This is what they look like. They're pretty common, I think, everywhere, but you could use the basic if you really were in a pinch and you didn't have steel cut oats. But this is intended for steel cut oats. I haven't made it with the instant flaky oats, so do it at your own risk. This is 360 grams, 2 cups. If you do 2 cups of the quick cooking, that would be about 180 grams. I would have added more almonds if I had some. This is literally all the almonds we had left, and I wanted to add some in, so you can add about a quarter to half a cup of chopped nuts. I've got about half a cup of chocolate here, and this is a mix of dark and white chocolate. And then what I've got here is some seeds, and this is half a cup of, you could do flax seeds, you could do hemp seeds, you could do any seeds you want. I'm using a bit of hemp seed, a bit of sesame seed. It all goes in, and then with a spoon or a spatula, whatever you got on hand, or I'll just do this. We're just going to mix it until it's kind of fully incorporated. I probably should have used a larger bowl, but too late for turning around. So this mixture is ready for when our syrup mixture is done. So for the syrup mixture, all you have to do is put this on the stove until it all blends together, until the coconut oil has melted and the maple syrup has melted, and it develops just a smooth consistency. So literally like less than 5 minutes on a stove at low or medium heat. I'll show you what that looks like once it's done. This has gone on the stove, and you can see it's all melted together into a nice consistency. And I've got my dry mixture here, and we're going to simply pour this syrup mixture into the dry mixture. Now, if you really, really don't want the chocolate to get all melty, if you want it to stay solid, you could wait an hour for this to cool down. but it's going to get a lot stickier and it's going to be a harder mess to clean up. So I would suggest you just pour it on right away, which we are going to do now with our handy dandy wooden spatula. So pour this in, and we're simply going to mix to combine, and this will moisten everything. Really the syrup here serves two purposes. The syrup and oil serves two purposes. One, or actually three. One is texture, the other is to bind, and the third is to sweeten the mixture. Because there's a lot of seeds, there's a lot of oats, there's a lot of jam-packed nutrition in here. But we gotta make it tasty. That's where the maple syrup comes in. And the coconut oil will give it more richness. So this is our mixture right here. And what I've got here is an 8-inch square baking pan. And what we're simply going to do is pour this mixture in like so. And you can see, like, I've added half a cup of chocolate. I'm not seeing too much chocolate melting. It should be fine, because keep in mind, you're only putting the syrup on the stove literally until the coconut oil pretty much melts and pretty much blends in with the maple syrup. We're not boiling it. As I mentioned, you just do it over low heat. Okay, so then you can use your hands if you want to. Spread it out all evenly. Okay, so I've spread this all evenly. So now this needs to go in the refrigerator for at least an hour to set. As an optional step that you can do right now, I generally don't do this, but you could if you wanted to. Melt some dark chocolate and just with a spoon kind of drizzle it over the top of this before we cut it into squares. Totally optional, something you can do. But otherwise, this goes into the fridge for 1 hour. So I will show you what it looks like. So it's been a little bit longer than an hour, but an hour is sufficient. And you'll see if I press down, nothing goes on my hand really. So now you can cut these however you like. You can cut them into squares, you can cut them more into like a granola bar shape. So I'll just cut one out. Just use any old knife. It might take a little bit of time. These should be stored in the fridge, by the way. Yeah, a lot of desserts that are squares, especially that have chocolate, because there's no preservatives, because this is all natural. Like you saw, it was just a handful of ingredients. There's nothing extra added. There's no preservatives that would keep it from melting. So it's ideal to keep it in the fridge until you need to take it to go somewhere. But it's not going to melt right away. So this is what it looks like. But yours could vary because of depending on the nut that you use and the seeds you use. But as long as you use, I guess, the scaled measurements that are on the site, it doesn't matter if you use almonds versus cashews versus, or flaxseed versus a hemp seed. It doesn't matter. But I'll give you a try. Whoa, crummy. Very good. Now, I should warn you, steel cuts are a bit more chewy. So, but they're very good for you. So, don't forget that. When you do use maple syrup, the maple flavor does come out this time. In other recipes I make that are vegan, it doesn't always, but in this it does. And this packs tons of nutrients. It's a healthy snack. Great if you're going on the trails. Definitely give it a try. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.